All right, y'all. So let me get this straight. Nobody's fired. Not a single name. Not I mean, like nobody ain't nobody fired. Nobody fired up in this beat. Okay, ain't nobody fired up in this jamboree, baby. We gotta talk about. But Melody wants somebody fired. Okay, allegedly. Okay, I wasn't there. I got to go on as the news reports, right? But I don't know what y'all think. Should anybody? I'm never a fan of saying that somebody should be fired, right? But I am like, what's realistic, what makes sense. You know what I'm saying for the show, and I think we got to look at it from that perspective. All right, so let's talk about two different instances where two different individuals have done crazy amounts of things that have made their shows respectively very polarizing. First things first, let's talk about the Martell of it all. Now, I don't know how many of you guys were able to head on down to the Huntsville to see Carlos King and Melody Cherie live and in full effect on the first stop of Carlos King's podcast tour. But according to our friends over at Urban Bell Mag, I mean, they are, or they did, or I guess I should say, address the Martell of it all. Now, we told you guys all about how Martell has basically said that he is acting. Melody told us that the Sheree and Martell of it all was business arrangements. He's called out Carlos and production, on Carlos King's Instagram, mind you. Um, and basically saying that he was being a team player because they told him to bring flowers to the scene with Melody Cherie, and they told him to be a team player and do this scene. Okay. So Martell has said that. Now, Carlos has responded to Martell at the podcast tour stop, which he had previously said he was going to do some commentation on. But basically, he said that Martell angered him a lot. Okay, here's a quote, which is allegedly from the podcast tour. He says, "Nor did I say get flowers from the grocery section, nor did I feed him lines because the other thing in it was actors. That's the ish that pissed me off. I'm going to tell you why. You can say what you want about me. One thing about me is I'm a child of God. So I only take care of what the man I serve thinks, only care about what the man I serve thinks about me, right? But don't do that to the integrity of my production because my producers leave their hometown, their family, their kids to come to Huntsville to make sure this cast has a great show. So don't do that to me nor my production. And more importantly, don't do that to the cast." This is what I have been screaming about since the day that the news broke about him going on that rant on Instagram in Carlos King's comments. I basically said, not only are you damaging the integrity of your own production, okay, but now that is affecting the people who have put in the hard work and the time and the effort to make this show great. We know that there are elements of reality TV that are produced. Okay, but shows have to be produced to a certain degree, right? Our goal and desire is just that what you're doing in the scene is authentic and real to you, or as real as can possibly be. We do know that there are certain beats that you need to hit, things that you need to discuss, but the goal is to do them in a way that's true and authentic for you, right? So Carlos further said this. He says, "I'm not Tyler Perry, Shonda Rhimes, Ava DuVernay, Will Packer. I don't have no shade to me, the mental intelligence to create something out of thin air and then say, 'Hey, Melody, when you go in there, girl, you going to say this. You going to say I got coins to make, not friends to fake.' Yes, I'm not that bright. When it comes to that, I follow reality. So that was so disgusting to me because it's not true. And I was disappointed because there's history there. The reason we have a Love and Marriage Huntsville is because they came to me wanting to do a show. And then collectively, we talked about what it could be. So there is history there." And he went on to say, "I'm going to be very honest, my heart was broken because it's one thing for you to be mad at the time to be mad that at the time that is how you felt. Don't throw me into the mix. Don't do it to the point that now you were having people question my integrity. Now, I mean, for me, I'm like, I, you know, my question would be, did you call this man after he posted that and give him HE double hockey sticks? Because I might have had to call him and curse him out. Okay. Because you're not gonna come on my Instagram page popping off on me in the comment section when you got my number. That's just not how we're gonna roll. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm the executive producer. You definitely ain't gonna do that to me. Melody, however, basically says that she thinks that Martell should be gone. Okay. Fired. Finito. She says that the reason, Carlos, for one, I felt sorry for you because I know too much how you care about the show, how hard you work on the show as well. And me knowing that I had just gotten 10 dozen roses a few months before that, like sent to my home from him, the flowers, like, stop. Nobody told you to send me 10 dozen roses. So I hated that he did it. He did that. He did it that way and made it seem as if you told him to do that. I didn't for once think that you told him to do that. She then continued on and says, the reason I felt that he got to go is because outside of my personal feelings, outside of the attacks that I received, the show as a whole, whenever you have him, his significant other sharing information pertaining to scenes, pertaining to, I still remember when you came to Huntsville last season and met with us, and it was blasted by ... I'm assuming that was Arion, and it had to come from him, and it was Carlos said this, and my name came up, and I felt I too was disrespected. It's just a lot. Then she talked about, basically, people hating on her fan base. She said, at some point, when do you start making people take accountability for their wrongs? People can say all day, the millimeters do this, the millimeters do that. Well, if people would stop doing things, the millimeters wouldn't have anything to be coming at them for. And then she does confirm, as many of you guys had said, that she had done so in a live video or something like that, that she is the one behind the warrants. She says, anytime you have to go through with making such a tough decision that impacts your children as well, that's always tough. That's always tough. But I think there have been so many transgressions, one after the other, after the other, after the other. No matter how many times I sit back at times and try to keep my mouth closed and see, you think if I don't say nothing, it will die down. They'll leave me alone. Leave me alone. Just please leave me alone. But I also have a breaking point too, where I'm like, okay, they ain't leaving me the F alone. She added, when I made the decision, it was back in August of last year. I actually pulled Lauren in and I said, I got to do this. And I need somebody to be here and with me to make sure that I do what I need to do. Okay. So a lot to unpack there. I'm not shocked that Melody would feel that way. I mean, I guess the question would be, if they got rid of Martell, who then becomes the villain outside of Kiki? I mean, Maurice is definitely in the running, but Maurice ain't really active enough like that to really be, not that the show needs a villain. What do y'all think? Do you think and listen, I don't want this man to lose income. That ain't what I want. But I just feel like when you start running around saying these types of things about the production, it's probably a sign that you need to go. Like, what other job would you be able to run around publicly disparaging your employer to their face on Instagram, on their own post? Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Turn around, then get arrested, and then, think that you're going to have a job again. Like, I don't get it, but, maybe it's a contractual situation where they can't let him out of his contract, but it don't really seem like he's gone anywhere because, to be honest with you, until I hear he ain't filming for season 7, then I would have to reasonably assume that we are going to still be following his quasi acting career. I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Also, I got an update for you guys on the Monica of it all. So it appears as though Monica is truly not fired either. All right. So we got the speculation yesterday in a video on Mr. Housewives Instagram page from So Good It's Bad with Ryan Bailey on his podcast, right? And so he had surmised or heard from a reliable source that she wouldn't return. So then later on, People Magazine came back and said that she would not be returning for the next for season 5 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and the internet collectively erupted. Now, I understand that a lot of people feel like, Monica, made the show entertaining for your viewing pleasure. Okay. I get it. I totally do. I mean, she came in, she did a lot. She did a whole lot. But I did see the reunion. And it's a difficult thing because the idea or the very premise of the show is that it is supposed to be about a group of friends, right? So how do you follow the reality of the friend that nobody likes or trusts, who also basically did not like? I got to hand it to Monica. I mean, she did stand 10 toes down, which is something I always respect. But at the end of the day, what I guarantee you the network was probably looking for was some bit of like accountability, or I should say, um, contrition. You know what I'm saying? She really didn't seem all that contrite about much of what was going on. So I'm not really surprised that this is the outcome. However, comma.org, I think it's important to note that the showrunner, thanks to our friends over at Queens of Bravo, confirmed that season 5 begins production on February the 5th, which is literally right around the corner. Monica may return in the future after a cooling off period. Okay. So it's quite possible that this is my assessment. If ain't nothing going on, then we gonna invite her back. If they ain't got no drama popping, we know who can come on in and stir up the juice and get the girls riled up. Um, Similar to how they utilize Brandy Glanville in Beverly Hills and on subsequent shows. I've thought, and I've been saying this, I feel like Monica should go to a show like Traders, which we do know has been renewed for a 3rd season. I think that she is the obvious choice to head over to that particular show. It's doing really, really well. People really, really love it, and I think based on what her history has been with this specific show, I think that would be a great next phase for her. And I'm quite sure that Bravo will likely want to keep their I don't know. I think that they will likely want to keep her in their back pocket. All right. So Heather's response to Monica rejoining is there's no chance that she will be welcome back in my business near my family or near my friends. My other question for Heather then, do you have that same energy for the hairstylist who was allegedly involved in this whole reality Bontees thing as well? Because it appears as though you're still at least working with her, in which I would have to then question, why are you still working with her? It doesn't make any sense to me, because no shade to the young lady, because listen, everybody deserves a second chance in my book. But if Heather, who is not willing to give Monica a second chance, why is she so willing to give, the hairstylist who was allegedly in cahoots with Monica in this whole situation? Why would you even let her in your space, knowing that she contributed to this whole situation, right? All right. So then, apparently, there's an article that kind of goes on, that states, which is why Cohen, as well as Lisa Shannon, the senior vice president at Shed Media, which produces the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and showrunner Lori Gordon, tell Variety that Monica Garcia won't be turning for season 5 specifically. The women just need a cooling off period, and I think it's too soon, Gordon says in a breakdown of the events of the finale and part 3 of the reunion. They've articulated it. It's too soon for them to re-enter into a friendship, a trusting friendship. Not enough time has passed. Shannon agrees. We're starting to film relatively soon, and I think that everyone needs a minute. The door isn't entirely closed to Monica, though. Gordon says, "You never say never. You never know." So for me, that's again code for We got to see how the next season does. If ain't nothing happening, we bring her back. Period. In the meantime, go and throw on over there to traders and let her do that. The other thing that I'm gonna say is that I think that she would also make for probably a good person on Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. I would love to see how that plays out. But beyond that, can we talk a little bit about Heather and this black eye? She revealed last night, well, she had revealed it in the finale, but also went into detail last night that, Jen Shaw is allegedly, let me put the alleged badge up here, the person that gave her the black eye. So for me, I'm kind of like, now Heather, you still didn't really give us in much detail. You gave us more detail surrounding the incident than how it happened. All she remembers allegedly is that the two of them were so drunk, and the only person else who was there was Jen, who I guess allegedly said, "I can't believe I did that to you." And your response was to cover it up. Why Heather is so, she talked about, basically fabricating different truths, okay, and fables and fairy tales about this black eye, much to her detriment. And I'm kind of like, Heather, you really ain't giving us no tea on this situation. Like, you ain't really making this clear about the series of events that led to the black eye. Now, granted, I definitely, in my heyday of drinking, have drank so much that I have passed out or maybe not remember certain things. Definitely nothing like getting a black eye. And then for you to now be so sure about it, and for the footage to only show the two of you talking about it, and we're supposed to understand or believe you now that you're narrating, what allegedly was said in the moments after that. I just kind of find it hard to believe. Now, you, Heather, have come across as a less credible source as well, for not only still apparently still working with the hairstylist, but also now you've admitted to lying and going on this whole book tour and fabricating the events of the black eye. Like, apologizing, but not necessarily recognizing that you want grace for having confused the audience and blamed production at points, although you are using it as though it was under the guise of a joke. I just find that to be reprehensible as well. So, the same grace that you're asking for is the same grace that you probably at some point need to be extending to Monica, because you clearly given it to your hairstylist, who was a part of the reality Von Tease of it all, allegedly. Okay. So it, to me, amounted to a big nothing burger with this whole black eye. And I still don't feel like I know any more than I did before. What I did realize coming away from the reunion is that, Monica seemed unapologetic. I mean, even if they really let her talk, also, it didn't seem like her saying anything was going to make a difference, because it felt to me like all the ladies had already made up in their minds that they did not want to move forward with her in any way, shape, or form. Let me know what your thoughts were about the Salt Lake City reunion part 3. I also don't think that they should have come out with the news about her not returning until today. I think that would have made much more sense. Maybe they thought that they would get ahead of the story, but it really just made things worse. Anyway, let me know again, like I said, what y'all think in the comment section down below. And of course, we will catch you in the next video.